Now we have the honor of bringing in House Judiciary Committee head Jim Jordan. Congressman Jordan was also a friend of Charlie's. Congressman, what do you think was Charlie Kirk's legacy on the conservative movement moving forward, and how will his legacy live on?
Well, I think it's just the way he did it. He presented the facts, he presented the truth in a compelling, articulate way, and he did it with a smile on his face. I mean, that should be the model. I said this the other day about Charlie. My favorite scripture verse is 2 Timothy 4:7, and Paul's the old guy giving advice to the young guy Timothy, and he says, fight the good fight, finish the course, keep the faith. And that verse is so powerful because of the action words in it. Fight, finish, keep. That's what Charlie did. For the truth, he fought for the truth, he finished strong, and he kept the faith, kept faith with the principles that matter, with his Christian faith. And he did it with the right amount of energy, and just, again, the happy warrior that I think we should be in this business of trying to persuade, trying to debate. He set the tone and the example, and he was a special, as everyone knows, a special individual.
Absolutely.
Congressman, thanks so much for being here today. You know, I can't help but, notice Erica's comment about the difference in the reaction from the left versus the right. And she made it clear that, in response to Charlie Kirk's assassination, you didn't see violence. You didn't see riots. Instead, what you saw was a revival. Yep. Can you speak to that and to the other side of the aisle's reaction here?
Well, I hope that's always the case. We don't want any of these tragedies to happen, but I would like for there never to be the kind of violence we've seen in the past. It's just we should be able to debate. We had a witness a few years ago testify in front of our committee. She was a journalist in Canada. We were talking about the censorship that was going on, and she said the hallmark of Western culture is free expression, the ability to debate. And if you can't decide your disputes via debate, the alternative is frightening, and we never want to get there. So let's make your best argument, make your best case, get your best hold, have the debate, but let's settle disputes that way, not any other way. Charlie believed that. That's the right way to do things. I hope that's what we can do. But yeah, I think our side handled this tragic thing in the right way, celebrating what Charlie Kirk meant to the country, what he meant to young people. I mean, I shared this last week. Our daughter, who's 30, I think the same age as Charlie, maybe a year older, she sent me a text and she said, this is devastating, of course, for his family, but it's devastating for our generation. He was our Limbaugh. And I thought, that is so true. I'm an old guy. I grew up with Limbaugh, but the younger conservatives grew up with Charlie Kirk, and he made a difference. I will never forget. I'm in Chicago raising money. This is like 10 or 12 years ago. Raising money from a guy, a Republican donor. We're talking, and he says, there's this new guy named Charlie Kirk. He's starting this organization. I think I'm going to help him out. I'm going to put some money into that organization. I think he's going to make a difference. What an understatement. That was 12 years ago, and he was right. He certainly made a difference.
Congressman, you're a leader in the House of Representatives, especially among the Republican Party. We just saw Byron Donalds and Rashida Tlaib go at it just a day ago. We can all sit here and kind of say what we think was to blame on that. We saw Erica Kirk say she forgives the man that killed her husband. We hear this idea that Republicans, and I have seen it today, have taken a stance of love rather than hate. What can you do? What can your peers do when you go back to work and you start arguing over government shutdowns and budgetary appropriations bills and everything else that's going to be argumentative? Is there anything you all can do that looks like the turn the other cheek message that we heard today?
Well, we're all human beings. We're all flawed. We all need God's grace. So I think that if you start from that premise, which I know is where Erica starts, start from that premise. That's the right place to start. But when we have these debates, I mean, politics is not a wimpy game. You got to be intense. I'm all for that. Let's be intense. Make your best argument. Go at it. But there's a line you shouldn't cross, and it shouldn't get personal. It should focus on the issue, the debate, the facts, the truth. Stick with that. And if you do it in a compelling, articulate way like Charlie did, you get your point across. You got a better chance of winning the argument, carrying the day, winning the vote at the end of it. that's the right way to do it versus getting all personal and just back and forth, because the whole country gets turned off by that. Stick with the facts.
Exactly.
Stick with the truth. And frankly, as a member of Congress, do your homework. Do your homework and be prepared when you come to these committee hearings and you come to the debate.
That's exactly what Charlie did.
Yeah, and I love the fact that he didn't tell you what to think.
Sure did.
He just wants you to think. Let me ask you this, Congressman Kevin Cork, with you. The left, frankly, can't seem to unite against violence and hate. 58 House Democrats voting against a resolution just to honor Charlie and to condemn his assassination this week. But Jasmine Crockett and AOC apparently are still upset that more Democrats didn't disrespect his memory. Watch this.
The rhetoric that Charlie Kirk continuously put out there was rhetoric that specifically targeted people of color. It is unfortunate that more of my colleagues could not see the amount of harm that this man was attempting to inflict upon our communities.
His rhetoric and beliefs were ignorant, uneducated, and sought to disenfranchise millions of Americans. It is equally important that Congress does unite to reject the government's attempt to weaponize this moment into an all-out assault on free speech across the country, all in the name of Charlie Kirk.
Now, let's compare and contrast that to this. You may recall back in June, the House unanimously came together to condemn the shooting of 2 state lawmakers in Minnesota. And again, this sort of goes back to what Kayleigh was talking about. You know, we can really sharply draw a clear distinction between how the right is responding to an absolutely unjust assassination and how the left is now trying to say, well, but he said this, or I disagreed with that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, what they said about Charlie, just everyone knows it's just not accurate, just not true. He was a gracious individual who presented the truth in the right way, and was willing to debate anyone on any subject. So, and then what she said about the assault on free expression. Remember what they did during the Biden administration. Never forget this. They set up a disinformation governance board, as if a bunch of bureaucrats can tell Americans where we have a First Amendment, as if they could tell you what you can say, what you can read, what you can post, what you can tweet, what's misinformation, the most ridiculous Orwellian thing I've ever heard. And now they're going to lecture us and say somehow we're assaulting the First Amendment? You've got to be kidding me. I mean, that was what they did during COVID to restrict what people would say, kicking people off the platforms by the Biden administration pressuring the big tech companies. Mark Zuckerberg sent me a letter, said Biden pressured us to censor. We did it. We're sorry. We won't do it anymore. So that argument is just not accurate in any way as the other things they said, mischaracterizations and untruths about Charlie.
Congressman, I want to thank you for bringing that up. As you know, this is Tommy Lahren here. As you know, I was personally targeted in what you were just describing, so it's very close to my heart. I believe Charlie was also mentioned in some of those, whether it be the Twitter files or whatever else. You know, speaking of that, we're also getting more information about how this investigation swept up TPUSA. Jack Smith's investigation, Arctic Frost, I believe, swept up TPUSA. What more can you tell us about that? That's very concerning to me. It's a compliment to TPUSA. They're so effective at winning elections, but it's also very dangerous territory. It has me really concerned.
Well, think about all we've learned in the last 8 weeks because of information Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard has brought forward, FBI Director Kash Patel has brought forward with how they changed the intelligence community assessment, how they were leaking information, whether it was Adam Schiff's committee, whether it was Clapper and Brennan and Comey and all this stuff. And now we find out this and the weaponization and the lawfare that was taking place and Jack Smith and all he's doing. So the good news is, and Director Patel, while he couldn't say this directly in the hearing, but it seemed to be the case that all this is being investigated. Attorney General Bondi has set up a special strike force task force to look into all the leaked information that happened back in 16 and 17 that was designed to undermine President Trump, and then things that have happened subsequent to that. So I'm glad we got the right person at the Attorney General's position, the right guy at the FBI, the right guy at ODNI, right individual, right person in Tulsi, not the right guy, doing this work. I think finally there may be some accountability for some of these people who we knew did things that they shouldn't have done.
Chairman Jim Jordan, I know you'll always get to the bottom of that. We really appreciate it, and thank you so much for joining us.